Hi, friend. I'm so
Hola.
excited because I haven't really talked to you for a while, and I see that you still have City Rat on your thing because of the
Yeah.
show we did like 400 years ago, which is funny as hell. Okay, so all right, we are on YouTube. So we have a big show today, and I think that's going to be an interesting one. There's going to be a disclaimer, but let me go to the comments to make sure that I catch anything. You guys are like blowing up the chat already. Yes, thank you. Hit the thumbs up if you like sex. We are talking about sex tonight. Hey, Pammy Rutledge, I see you on YouTube. Hey, y'all. And so we're going to be talking about sex tonight from a cop's perspective and all kinds of stuff. And then let's see. Let's get into it. On the Rumble chat, we're live on Rumble and YouTube, both MollySleuth. And the Rumble chat has some really depraved sexual emotes this week. It's getting a little dark over there. So hopefully you guys have come with an open mind and a sense of humor. But we're going to be talking about a pretty serious subject. And that's sex and like consent, I guess, is like the main part of sex that we're going to talk about. Because we're on YouTube, we can't use the R word. So I guess you always use the word grape, right, Randy?
Yeah. So YouTube, stupid, but
Yeah.
free speech.
Well, okay. So I guess that we introduce ourselves. My name is Molly, and I grew up in the hellhole of Los Angeles, where I was a police officer and a detective there for many years. I left there, moved to the Midwest, but when I left, I was a major assault crimes detective. So typically working more of the domestic violence angle of crime, and also anything that could happen to a human body before the point where you're dead. So I've seen some pretty dark stuff, but I also worked patrol. I was undercover. If we have time, I might tell my prostitution story when I was a prostitute. And also See the Man. I did that for many years as a patrol cop. And Randy, who the hell are you?
Randy Agard, this individual's friend and former partner for like 2 seconds. From New York, United States Marine Corps, hoorah. I worked patrol in Hollywood, so I also have some prostitution stories. And some of them are even related to the police department.
And you've been on like every dating app there is. So you probably are going to have a lot to say about the whole Me Too movement, because I think that's like this new modern twist to sexuality and the decline of human decency. So I definitely want to get into that to give some people some tips about how to avoid having allegations made against you 30 years after the fact.
Oh, yeah.
But I definitely want to talk about what consent is legally and how prosecution works. Cop stories. We'll talk about human trafficking, massage parlors, Andrew Tate. But I understand that sex is a really sensitive topic, and it can get silly, it can get sad, it can get dark. So if it's a topic that isn't for you, like no harm, no foul, you can, there's a billion other options to watch tonight. We're not here to victim blame anyone, but to give some good tips and some insight as to kind of how it all works. So,
yep. Just so everyone knows, we do take it serious. Like some of the cases that we handled, some of them still live with me. I know they live with Molly.
mm-hmm.
And I've had situations happen to me where if it had been the other way around, it would have been taken serious. So if you've gone through anything, us joking around isn't us taking it like we don't care.
No, in fact, I think that we have tips to help people that are possibly in that process of beginning to think about reporting and statute of limitations and wondering if they have enough evidence and that kind of stuff, but also to give a good overview to help the guys out, because typically guys are 99% of the suspects, of what happens when you screw a chick on the internet and don't call her back and she makes a report against you. Like, what do you do then?
Yeah, it's unfair that it's been weaponized, because what happens is it hurts real victims, and she and I have both seen real victims.
Yeah, and I think we'll get into that a little bit with consent, because just because I send you 400 photos of my gaping asshole, it doesn't mean that I give consent. So I guess we'll just start with consent. So there are some things that are a hard pass. You cannot consent if you are under a certain age. And these things can vary state by state. And like there's a Romeo and Juliet law in some states. Don't Google it. You might be on a list. But essentially, if you're both minors and you're in love and you consent, are you both going to prison? But the law is clear, but there's a lot of wiggle room. And what I mean to say is that if you're 18 and I'm 17, are you going to prison? But what if you're 60 and I'm 17? So the law might say, well, this is a minor and you can't consent. But there are, I mean, I know because I've filed hundreds of cases, and there are times, in fact, the one that haunts me is when the district attorney told me that they call some cases no humans involved, and they aren't going to file charges because the district attorney told me if I can't see 12 jurors with tears in their eyes, I'm not filing the case.
Wow. And
that gets really tricky because prostitutes can be raped too. However, if I'm the prostitute and we engage and all is good and you don't pay me, that doesn't make it a rape.
Right.
And so consent is something that can be taken away at any time. But there's a lot of nuance to it. And so Prop 57, which was awful, it passed in the state of California in 2016. And it took crimes that used to be violent and it made them non-violent anymore. So you used to not be able to consent to sex at all if you were intoxicated. And that means that if two people are intoxicated, are you both rapists? Like, that gets really tricky. But if you put something in a girl's drink and grape by intoxication, that used to be considered a violent crime. A 50-year-old graping a toddler used to be considered a violent crime. But the liberals in California said it's non-violent because if the woman is unconscious or it's just a baby, they are not physically fighting back. So It's non-violent because you're not fighting back. And I can tell you, because I have taken true reports for this crime, that there's that fight, flight, or freeze that happens when, somebody jumps out of the bushes and says, boo, or give me your money, or grabs you, that some people aren't able to fight back physically. Forget intoxication, just the shock of it. And so what California decided with this Prop 57 was that these were non-violent crimes, and that it made 25,000 men in prison eligible for early release because now they're non-violent, so they're not a danger to society. And it wasn't just that. They took some domestic violence, some assault with a deadly weapon, and those were then considered non-violent. Domestic violence, assault with a deadly weapon. It's like it says it right in the name. But they decided that these were non-violent under this Prop 57. And it also includes, so it's lewd acts with a child and grape of an unconscious victim, graping by intoxication. So that's like the whole roofie thing, and trafficking with sex acts, including minors.
Why do you think they did that, Molly?
Well, I think there's a big push to just let everybody out, and like, the whole hug a thug thing. Like, if we just let everybody out, then like everyone will get along and there won't be any crime anymore. The reason that there's crime is because there's police officers. Like, no, not at all. In fact, I would say in Los Angeles to go on hi, Christopher Leland, to go on mostly peaceful grape. Yes, thank you. Also, Ben says tangent, but you both have kick-ass shirts tonight. Thank you. I'm wearing my dodecahedron, and you have a cool Death Star shirt. Actually, our shirts are kind of like friends. We have like a little bit of a visual thing going on together. You need to see my dodecahedron, or you need to see my tits. I know you're not looking at my tits. We've been friends way too long. So, but yeah, so this early release and letting all these people out and thinking that was going to solve everything, and that police are really the problem. But you and I both know it's not even just grape cases, but you get your car window broken into. Like, I think my record in LA for my personal car getting broken into was like 6 times in 1 year. I have not made 6 reports in my lifetime. What's the point? What are they going to do about it? How are they going to find the guy? Like, first of all, I know now as a detective that only felony cases are even assigned to anyone. And so what is the point of, I came back to my car at this time, I locked and secured my vehicle, I returned at this time, and I observed my vehicle broken, and there was no suspect, and I don't have a camera because I parked 4 blocks away because I live in the hellhole of Los Angeles. They're not going to do anything with it. And the guy's never going to pay me back. It was just some like hype or a hobo that was just like, oh, there's nothing in here. Next car. Like, that's, you know what it's like. You've lived in LA enough. So the vast majority of cases, like, people don't call 911 really anymore. It's like slowly boiled frogs. It's just a little hotter every day. And so people aren't calling. They aren't reporting that suspicious car that's parked in front of their house. They aren't reporting that their mailbox was open today, but usually it's closed. And like, you always get magazines on Thursdays. Like, you're not reporting the small stuff. It's that whole broken window theory. And sexual assault really is no different. First of all, the majority of cases are somebody that you know. And so then it becomes kind of murky. Like, oh, well, I was flirting with him. And so is it really a crime? I did send him pictures of my tits. I did tell him I would go out on a date with him. And so that's where consent becomes a little bit tricky, because if I say, can I kiss you? And you're like, oh yeah, that sounds really sweet and nice. Sure, you can kiss me. Now, I have gotten expressed consent. Also, you could just close your eyes and pucker your lips, and that would be implied consent. But so then I lean in, and you're expecting a kiss, but my idea of a kiss is hawking a loogie on your face and biting your lip and making it bleed. And you're like, whoa, I didn't consent to that. It's like, so consent can mean a lot of things. If you are consenting to sex based off, you think that I'm on birth control, but I know that, you know, you have a car and you own a house and that you'd be a good baby daddy, and I am not on birth control. The act of sex is consensual, but you could argue that that is deceptive by nature and kind of entrapment, right? Or you meet me at a bar and we're like, hey, baby, let's go. And you totally consent. It's all good. We're sexting each other. Everything's good. We get down to the deed and you find out I'm trans.
Pay extra?
Yes, you pay a lot extra. So you can revoke consent at any time. And it doesn't have to make sense to anyone. You don't have to be super likable. You can be a sex worker and you can still revoke consent. And, like, okay, yeah, I'll do this for $10, but then you guys get in the motel room or behind the bush and you're like, that stinks too bad. And I don't want to smell like that because I'm going to ruin my other clients. You can revoke consent. I love that I'm disgusting you.
What do you think about the other way, Molly? I tell you, I own the Yankees, and my Maybach is outside.
And so that sort of gets into the Me Too stuff a little bit, because you look at people like Harvey Weinstein, who by all objective standards is gross. And if you met him at the grocery store and he was the cashier, you wouldn't be like, oh, Harvey, give me your number. Let's hang out. Like, I totally come over to my place. Let's do shit together. Yes, Henry, $10. The reason why these women consent to various acts and flirting and sexting and sex is because they want something out of it. Mm-hmm. And I think here's part of the problem is that women define consent as how we feel before, during, and after the event. But that's not reality, and that's not the law. So just because you met him on Tinder and he says he's looking to get married by next Thursday, and then you're like, oh my God, this is so great. Oh, we're going to get married. And you guys go on a date and you let him, do some shit to you, and he never calls you again. And then he blocks you because he's like, baby, you're just a number. You're just a Tinder conquest. I don't know why you thought we were going to get married. I'm just trying to dip it in everyone. And I haven't collected your race yet. So goodbye. That doesn't take away the consent at the time. You consented at the time. Just like I had a case on patrol, and it was like a dominatrix, prostitute, whatever. And these three guys go over to her apartment and they are going to pay her for a fiesta. And the fiesta occurs, and then they're like, cool, we're out of here. And she's like, where's the money? Oh yeah, we weren't going to pay you. We know that you wanted us. No, this was all a financial transaction. So she ends up calling 911, and we bust over there. And it turns out that this is really just a business dispute. You painted their house and they're not willing to pay you, and you have to take them to court. Yeah, but they're just three illegal aliens that won't even tell me their name. And I'm like, well, I can't force them to tell you their name because you guys engaged in a business transaction and they just didn't pay you. I don't know why you would let three people into your body that you have no idea who they are. And I think that opens up a broader conversation about where we're at with the whole feminism of free sex, and women can be sexual too. And as much as you want to say that, this lion was raised under your care and he would never bite you, I think it truly is inherent in our genders that men look at the value of a woman based off sex. If you met a woman that said, yeah, I've been, men are like pogs and I'm trying to collect them all, or whatever that you'd be like, she's not as high value as I'm very selective and you're probably not going to make the grade. In fact, in early Rome, there was no such thing as grape. The only time in which it became a crime was if you had sex with the virgin daughter of a taxpayer, because that dad, chattel, he owned his virgin daughter, and that was a moneymaker for him to get her into a marriage with somebody. and her virginity was her worth. And by somebody coming in and taking that away, you know, it was no different than like, I have this brand new car that I'm trying to sell and somebody just, you know, kicked in all the windows. Like, how am I supposed to sell it for top dollar now? So it can be very cultural how we look at it. And that is state to state and cultures.
The argument about like men can have lots of partners and women can't, it's not, oh, I am a man, I get to sleep with who I want, and you're a woman, you can't. It's the fact that it turns into a bunch of guys using women, and it just turns into we're benefiting. And I get it, women want to have sex, men want to have sex, but it turns into that whole using part of it. Like, oh, he doesn't have to take me out to go get dinner. I'm just going to go to his house. I'm just going to sleep with him. And in that aspect, it's kind of unfair to women because we are benefiting. I mean, oh, I don't have to take her out to dinner.
Because there are women that bat their eyelashes and like, oh, I think you're really cute and I might give you a chance because they want a free dinner, or they want, you know, security, or they want somebody to give them a child because their clock is ticking. I mean, women can use men as well. Especially in the case of like, I'm on birth control, and then you're like, surprise, and you're the dad, and now you'll be paying me for the rest of your life. And you're like, I just thought I was like dipping it in real quick and I was going to move on to the rest of Tinder. Like, that's not cool.
Or STDs.
STDs. That's another way to like really take away consent. Like, you're making out and like, oh yeah, I should probably let you know, like and you're like, okay, consent is over. I don't know why. I'm going to tell the story anyway. I used to tell everybody that I had AIDS at the nightclub because I hated getting hit on. Listen, I was young and I was cute. And men would come over and be like, hey. And I'd be like, oh yeah, didn't I meet you at the Living with AIDS rally? And they would be like, gotta go. And you know, it's so, this guy I knew, Lucian, came up to me at the club one night and he was like, so sorry. I heard. You heard what? I heard you have AIDS. I was just some guy I didn't want to dance with. And then I just thought, how many people in this club think I have AIDS? Anyway.
Times.
Yeah. But yeah. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I just think from both ends, it is going to sound sucky, but marriage actually ends maybe 70% of all of this nonsense. STDs, the insanity with, and you, Molly, you know I'm not married and I don't even want to get married, but I'm just saying it actually does end a lot of everything.
I would say that wouldn't necessarily end at the contract. One thing is, you can get graped in a marriage.
Spousal rape.
And I mean, some places, it was like the late 90s when all of a sudden they decided that would be a law in the UK. Because before that, if that was your wife, didn't matter if she wanted it or not. The late 90s. So we are kind of growing and evolving. But I think we're kind of growing and evolving like too much, like too devolved. So Rod is in the chat on Rumble and he says, let's get our lawyers involved and draft up a pre-coitus agreement. Rod, you're not kidding, because there's all these apps that are coming out. I'm not going to plug any of them, but there are these like legal agreements that you get into. So Randy, you and I meet and we're like, okay, hey, log into the chat, blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, I agree. But then again, so you consent. No, some of the apps tell you that the consent is good for 24 hours. Dude, I could tell you something in 24 seconds that would make you take away your consent. Hey, I'm trans, I have AIDS, whatever. So to tell you have 24 hours, like that's crazy. And I think what it's really doing is giving men a false sense of security, because even though I might consent to A, B, or C, you better not put the D in my B. So it's, I knew you'd like that one. Because I don't consent to that. And so this, and I don't know, maybe some of the apps have check boxes. I agree to getting slapped, but not spanked. And but at what point? I would also argue that is still somewhat under duress, because women can consent because, well, if I don't, he'll never ask me out again. Or, he's told me he would drive me home after we made out. And he says that the consent thing is only a make out and that we're not going to actually do it. And just because you have an app, it doesn't mean consent. Screw that. But also, these apps are run by private companies. And as somebody that has written search warrants for records to find out stuff, the other side, being the guy that you're accusing of this grape, his side can also subpoena your records. So now you have your records on a big poster board in court, and oh, well, you've been busy on this app. You consented to 7 guys this year alone. And then then you've got a jury going So now a jury is deciding your fate based off this information. First of all, this private company, that's Chinese private company, do you really want them to know every dude that's been inside you? I just feel like that could be used for bad. And do you want that on a poster board in a court of law where he's like, I can, you said that this is the, whatever app that you use. Let's subpoena her records and see if she's consented to anyone else. Oh, and it was only 17 hours since the last time you were on it, and you logged on to it on these 4 dates as well, but you didn't consent. So I just see that as being so problematic, as well as it's not legally binding. Because as we talked about, consent is very fluid. Okay, so let me go back to my notes. So consent, you're not supposed to use any force, obviously, duress, deception. Deception's an interesting one because, guys on Tinder will tell you I'm 6'3", and women say I weigh 125, and they tell you that they have a doctorate or a full-time job or whatever. And so deception can be a real shade of gray. But they were talking about, there was one case out of Indiana, this guy, Donald Ward, and he got off. So I will say he is innocent because Indiana law says. So this girl was sleeping in the dorm of her boyfriend. She's asleep in his bed. He's not home. And this Donald Ward guy came in and started touching on her, and they did the deed. She thought he was the boyfriend because she was all sleepy and it was dark and blah, blah, blah. And then lo and behold, it's some other dude, Donald Ward, and no charges filed, because in the state of Indiana and Delaware and other places, it is not illegal to have sex with somebody through deception. Now, interestingly, in Idaho, if I pretend to be the husband, it would be illegal, but not if I pretend to be your boyfriend. The act is the same. Whether or not we file taxes together really isn't the point. But so what I mean to say is that it varies state by state.
There's another one with twins. There's these twin brothers who kept, they'd meet a girl. Hey, bro, you want to go see what she feels like? And nothing ever happened to these guys. And then they started boasting about it on the internet. And still nothing ever happened. I'm like, you guys know you're admitting to crimes, right? I mean, I wasn't talking about it. I'm just sitting there thinking.
Yeah, and I don't want to blame any victim for you didn't know it was the brother, you didn't have a code word, whatever. And a lot of these do kind of, especially when it comes to like Tinder dates and all this stuff and sleeping with somebody before you have really vetted who they are and you've met their friends and you've been to their workplace and you've met their family and you've been to where they live and you start to sort of get to know them, because women might let you in physically, but men let you in by sharing their world. Where do they live? Who do they hang out with? Like, and if you're dating somebody that hasn't shared that stuff, that you only have their WhatsApp and you know that they work at a bakery, but you don't know the name of it, like fucking run. Like, what are you doing letting somebody like that into your body when they haven't even let you into their world at all? If you get an STD, that's the rest of your life. Over what? Some dude at a bakery that said his name was Ted or whatever? Like, you don't even know who that guy is. Just like that prostitute dominatrix. Like, she literally didn't know who these three people were, but here they are in her apartment and they're all having a party. And like, you know, that one was really sad because I think she had a lot of regrets because she wasn't paid and not because of what happened to her. And so as we're talking to her, she and we're like, well, you know, I'm sorry, but this is a business dispute. It's a civil matter and you have to take them to court. How am I supposed to find out who they are? You know, well, you could hire a private eye. I mean, like that whole thing that you do when you're talking to, you know, disputing neighbors, like, well, I don't even know my neighbor's name, but I know that they cut my hedges. Like, well, you'd have to find out their name, but I don't provide that, whatever. Although in that case, it could be a crime. And so it's terrible, but she wasn't taking the news very well. That like when you give that consent, which the act was consensual, it's just the consent was based off of getting money. But it's just like most girls, I would say, consent to sex before marriage because they're hoping that you're going to be their boyfriend or buy them dinner or marry them or whatever. But consent doesn't really care about that part of the transaction. It's, do you consent at the time and not do you have regrets later? Like, oh my God, I gave him the best 10 years of my life and he didn't marry me. Or I screwed Harvey Weinstein for 6 months every time he was in town and I still haven't gotten a movie. Like, all that shit, the law does not care. That is transactional. So, of course, consent has to be voluntary, but it also has to be informed. If you get somebody that's really like low IQ, let's say not even drunk, sober, but just dumb as a box of rocks, or they have some like mental issues. There are cases of people with dementia that wanted to make a report because she had sex with somebody and forgot that she was married. It can be argued, but then again, like when it comes to prosecution, when it comes to that prosecutor pulling that filing sheet and starting to write charges on it, you're going to have a hard time getting 261 because you got caught cheating and you made this whole report. But, the act of it, you see the text messages and there's, tits and I want you, baby, and all this stuff. And yeah, but then I went over and then I said, no, I don't want to victim blame anyone. You should be able to leave $100 bill on the windshield of your car with your windows open and go shopping for the day and it should still be there. But the world doesn't act like that. You should be able to wear no clothes and walk down an alley at 3 a.m. and nobody grabs you. But there are certain things to mitigate that risk.
Well, Molly, to your point, something you said a couple of minutes ago, an issue with all of this is America, even with all of the nuttiness we're up to, we are still kind of moral and ethical. So a lot of that stuff will come up on the defense side. Look, she had on a miniskirt and she was over there at 2 a.m. And to you and I, we're not victim blaming. We understand that doesn't mean because I'm wearing whatever outfit. If I'm wearing a cowboy outfit, that doesn't mean I want to go ride a horse, but it will be used against you. Like, look, guys, we wanted it.
Yeah,
So
and there have been cases, and unfortunately, prosecutors or the defense attorneys are ruthless, and they know that the client did it, but their job is to find some kind of loophole, some kind of like wedge that's going to make the jury clutch their pearls and be like, oh, well, she left the house wearing leopard panties. What did she think was going to happen? And it's like, yeah, but the leopard panties were under my coveralls that came from my chin to my toenails. Well, did you have other panties that weren't leopard? I rest my case. She was obviously on the prowl. And we subpoenaed your court records and found out that you got a bikini wax 2 days ago. And like, it's just brutal what happens to these victims on the stand. And it really shouldn't be like that. But because it's so nuanced, this crime is so nuanced. It's not like I broke your car window and took your gym bag and left with it, which is a very like easy case to show. But then if you left the gym bag on top of the roof of your car and I took it 3 blocks and I went through it and there was nothing in it and I left it there, like you start to get more of a shade of gray when it comes to that prosecutor grabbing that filing sheet and starting to write that penal code on it. All right, let me go into the chat. Watch Black Mirror episode 4, season 4, Hang the DJ. I wonder how far we are from something like that. Everything from a physical contact to sex has to be agreed on by both people using an app. Yeah, so, I mean, there are these apps, but just like I said, do you consent to me kissing you? Yeah, I do. But then that doesn't mean spitting all over my face and biting my lip and causing an injury. So that's still murky. I mean, these apps, like, this is a joke. And then your personal information is out there. Like, oh, well, on this date, you checked these boxes that he could do this, that, the other, blah, blah, blah. And like, you have this in court, and this like private, company has this information. And it's hell no. And so, okay, so with the, I guess we've covered that. Oh, I did want to say, this is sort of new, because you remember, like, we grew up with Pepe Le Pew, like chasing the girls around, oh, my darling, my baby, I love you, whatever. And like, nobody was like, oh my gosh, this is like a grape cartoon for children. Like, we grew up with the like seduction of like, she didn't like me. And I always say that that's sort of what's missing now in like modern relationships, is that women don't make men like chase them anymore. Like, we're just like free roadkill for the taking. But like our grandparents, like if you hear them tell their story, it's like, she didn't like me very much, but I had to work hard to get her. She kept saying no, but I knew if I got the right job and I got the right car and I asked her dad's permission and I kept pestering her and I showed up at her house and blah, 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 that eventually she would have to consent. And so it's like, well, at what point do we call all of our grandparents like grapists because they weren't given a green light and an asshole picture like right off the freaking bat? And now
I chased someone for 1.5 years and we ended up getting married. Another girl for 6 months, and she was my girlfriend. Now, when they say no, we men are like, cool.
Yeah.
That means no.
Yeah, I mean, we can get into the whole Me Too thing, but I've also seen your dating apps and just been horrified as to how easy these women are. It's terrifying to me.
First date or second date?
First date. Hey.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Hey,
First date
give
or
me
second
your
date.
address, that naked picture, remember, with the raincoat over the back of the couch, that I was like, Randy, she didn't take that picture for you.
Right.
When was the last time it freaking rained? Why is the raincoat on the back of the couch? Like, this is like her go-to a-hole picture that she just sends to all the boys. Like, run.
Yeah. And
Because again, it's like free roadkill.
I don't let them come into my house anymore. I don't, young and dumb. Because fellas, this can also hurt you guys. I don't think it's just a one-way
Yeah.
street.
Yeah. Well, so let's get into the whole Me Too thing.
All right. It was started in 2006 by, her name was Tarana Burke. And for you guys who want to look into it, please go on Business Insider and read the comment section, because so the movement, the mindset, and the mission was just completely hijacked, and it was used for political purposes. And when people saw the hypocrisy and all of the double standards concerning it, and I'm not talking about women didn't get victimized. I'm talking about there was a girl named Sarah Reed. She accused Biden, and then Rose McGowan got into it with them, and they were like, "Oh, so when you get accused, it's not believe all women. It's believe all women if she's accusing a Republican. Like what are we doing here?"
Yeah.
And just because, I don't know if you know about this, Molly, but some cadets stole a police car. They were driving around LA in the police car. That does not mean that they're cops. So when you see these movements, and I'm not going to say what movements they are, when they get hijacked, they're no longer that. I can say I'm a feminist all day long and I'm running around raping people. That doesn't mean I'm a feminist. Or I'm in a gang and I'm running around shooting black people and I'm like, oh, Black Lives Matters. You say whatever you want. If you're not doing that thing, you are not that thing. So that's the foundation of Me Too.
Yeah, and I definitely think that the feminism movement has been hijacked, because it started as like, hey, we can drive a car, we can vote, we can get a job. And now it's like, well, I could show my asshole just as much as anybody else. And it's like, sure, you can, but, who's going to marry that? You're the one that with the a-hole pictures on the internet. And like, I mean, free roadkill. I might pick up and like throw you in the back of my truck, but I'm not going to take a picture with you or put your head on the wall as a trophy and tell my friends about you. So I don't know. I'm not a big fan of where the feminist movement went. Of course, I think, and I mean, I was one of those teenagers, early 20s, like I can open my own door, like kind of stuff. But now it's come to be where we don't value ourselves. And I think even more so is we don't understand that our value is still wrapped up in our chastity, and that men want to earn and men want a prize and not free roadkill. Everybody at the mall will take the free sample of cat meat and go, yeah, cool, thanks. All right, you guys want to get pizza? Do you want whatever? Like, nobody buys the cat meat. Like, you just taste it, it's free, and then you move on to where you're going, unless you feel guilty. And there's plenty of those. Like, okay, well, I touched it, I've got to,
So for those who don't understand value, you and I are in a burning building. They're going to save both of us, or whoever to get to first. We both have that value. But in the dating market, your value is determined by me, and my value is determined by you. And it's not a sexist thing. It's, oh, Molly is all of the things I like in a woman, or Randy is all of the things I like in a man. So, because people get confused, what, I don't have any value? You have great value. Maybe you're tall, maybe you're short, maybe you're rich, whatever. So that's what we mean when we say value. I know people get butthurt when you say that. Not you, but when people say value.
I'm never butthurt. I don't check that box on the app.
That hurts.
So I guess let's talk a little bit about some of the reports that we had, because also I kind of want to talk about roofies and just how, I guess my overall advice would be, like, stop feeling like you have to be nice. If he says that he will take you out to dinner after this, like, that's transactional and you don't want to date somebody like that anyway. Well, I don't know if I want to marry you unless I know we're sexually compatible. Like, bro, that excuse is as old as the hills. Like, run. And for the roofies, some guy like hands you a drink and you're like, well, I don't want to be rude, and like, be rude. I've had guys hand me a drink and I'm like, cool, I don't want that. Push it away from me. We had a guy who, I used to work at a bunch of nightclubs, and we had a guy who would get 2 beers for him and some girl at the bar, and he would pick his up like this and he would pick hers up like that. And so we had a female bartender who noticed it and would grab her beer and smash it in the trash, get a brand new one, pop it, and hand it to the girl. Watch your drink. But these girls are kind of like, after they have 1 or 2 beers and they stop paying attention, or they're like, well, I don't want to be rude just because he put his hand over the top of the beer. It's a weird way to hold a beer, but, you know, I mean, I didn't see him sprinkle anything in it. It must be safe. And he would walk these girls out, and there were a lot of allegations that went on with this particular guy, to the point that the club said, we don't want your money here anymore. You can't come in. And I don't know if any girls made reports, but I have taken reports as a patrol officer for women that were roofied. And I can tell one story. Of course, I can't tell your name or anything, but she moved to Hollywood to, you know, make it in the business. And she met some loser dude in her acting class who said that there was some industry party this weekend. Come over to my house. I'll drive us. That way, you know, you can have some drinks or whatever. And so she was like, great. Yeah, maybe I'll, you know, be discovered and be a star. So she parks her car at his house and they go to this industry party. And it turns out it's just like a shitty party. Like, there was nobody there. There was no celebrities. There was nobody of any note. It was just some like garbage party. So she says to me, so I knew that it wasn't, you know, industry. So I just decided to get drunk. She said, but I've drank a lot in my life. And for the amount that I drank, I was far more drunk, blackout drunk off the amount that I drank, that I knew that it wasn't right. So he drives back to his house. He pulls in the driveway behind her car because she's too intoxicated to drive, blocks her car in. She blacks out. She wakes up in the morning, bruised, clumps of hair ripped out, hurts in places that she knows that she had sex. And she's like, what happened? And he's like, sit down, eat some food, have some water, go use the bathroom. And he is waiting for, first of all, in the acting class, can I just say that they called him Mr. Roofy in the class? And that he showed everybody the container in which he kept his roofies, showed it in the class. She still goes over to the house, goes to this party, knows that she's going to get intoxicated, leaving her life in the hands of Mr. Roofy from acting class. And which all sucks, but that doesn't mean that he's allowed to do A, B, C, and D, and or B. So she's wants to be nice, doesn't want to make a fit. So she is dutiful and it's like, well, could you just move your car so I can go? I just want to go home. I just want to go home. No, have some food. Come on, just stay a little bit. And I don't think she was even aware that this tactic was just to stall her, because the half-life in roofies, Rohypnol, is very short. And so you wait long enough to go get tested at the hospital with blood or urine, and it's already out of your system. Which doesn't mean that if it was in there, if they can determine that there was a certain amount of Rohypnol in your body, that means no consent, but obviously that would help you out. That is something, documenting those injuries at the time, documenting the text messages that happened after you left and you said, you're a real dick. Like, I didn't want to do that, blah, blah, blah. All of those are good things. You can prosecute a case. I mean, look at what's happening in the media now where people are bringing shit up like 30 years later, where there's like, I've never even met you, lady. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. That is so terrifying to me that we've given this Me Too thing the power to come back in 30 years with, what was his name from the Supreme Court? Kavanaugh, thank you. And I mean, he was a teenager when this incident occurred, and she was a teenager. And if this guy was, you know, bagging groceries at the grocery store, she would have never popped up. It's like once they get to a point of fame and we differ politically, that all of a sudden, like, now I'm brave enough to step forward. No, you're fucked up. Like, and I think that's wrong. I don't know how you fix it. I mean, besides don't ever get successful at anything, then you're probably safe. But I don't know how we decide that this Me Too thing carries no weight, that there should be some kind of evidence. Men should be innocent until proven guilty. And that goes for breaking a window on a car to, you know, roofing some girl and doing stuff to her. And certainly when it comes to the totality of like, you waited 30 years to tell us that somebody broke into your car, like we wouldn't allow that. And so I think we have to have a conversation about statute of limitations.
Yeah, because 80% of the reports I took, so for every 10, and I maybe took 20 in my tenure, which sounds like a lot, but that's like 2 a year. 80% were false. Like it was, oh my God, I have a boyfriend, or I don't like that guy anymore, or whatever. It was a lot of fake reports, and the ones that were real were horrifying. So,
yeah, I mean, which isn't to say that it always has to be violent. There's a lot of like sneakiness to grooming, especially when it comes to a big power dynamic or age dynamic or financial dynamic. But that 80% is higher than average. I found one study that said 61% are false reports.
We were in Hollywood, though.
Terrifying. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, I think Hollywood kind of adds to that because it's sort of the seedy underbelly of everything. And I had a case, actually, I'll tell you about a different one that wasn't my case. I used to work for this sex detective who was a freaking star. So amazing. And she taught me everything that I know about interview and interrogation. And she worked sex crimes. And she had this case with a guy was accused. They go to this party. We'll just make up names. But this girl, we'll call her Anne. And her boyfriend, we'll call him Brian. And she's like, oh, I'm tired. I'm going to go upstairs and go to sleep. Meanwhile, she's been texting John and saying, come upstairs and find me. Let's do this. And they've been sexting back and forth. Are you going to go to the party? Yeah, I'm going to the party. Let's sneak away. Let's do some shit, blah, blah, blah. Consensual. So John gets beckoned up to this bedroom to have sex with Anne. And just then, Brian decides to go check on his poor girlfriend with the migraine and make sure that she's okay and does she want anything, and sees them involved in consensual sex, but he doesn't know that. So he beats the shit out of this guy, poor little John. And he grabs Anne up and she's like, oh my God, thank you. You saved me. That was so scary. No worries, sweetheart. I'll take you right to the police station and we can make a police report. Okay. Well, officer, what happened was I had a migraine and then all of a sudden, and so as this detective gets this case, she's doing a lot of her due diligence. And so she goes and she arrests this guy at work. And at his workplace, and she's treating him, you know, she felt bad about this later, but she's like, yeah, he's going, you know, like, oh, fuck you. You can't take John. Like, oh, I'm taking him. He's getting arrested for rape, whatever, right? But so she takes the guy, and he is crying in the interrogation room. She has to get a translator because he only speaks Spanish. And the guy's crying and crying. And she's like, you know, he fucking did it. Look, this is like guilt all over his face. And so he ends up, they have this like heart-to-heart conversation because of good rapport and good interrogation tactics. And it turns out that this whole thing is totally consensual, and that John's crying because he feels really bad that he's like a homewrecker and that he got beat up over this girl. But it's like, did you want to see my phone? Like, yeah, I'll see your phone. Well, here, she sent me the tits and she said, come up, I'm in the bedroom, let's do it. And like, and all this stuff. And then she texted me after she made the report and said, sorry, and I won't testify. And I had to make the report because of my boyfriend. And like, does that change anything? Like, look, yeah, that changes everything. So one thing I guess is a good time to tell you is that when you make a report for sexual assault or rape, you are confidential. Let me say, I worked for the city of Los Angeles. These are my stories from the city of Los Angeles. So you might want to ask your jurisdiction. But in terms of the city of Los Angeles, LAPD takes a confidentiality sheet so that nobody knows who this crime happened to. However, and this happens with the 61%, or you're saying 80%, if you are falsifying a police report, it's 148.5 of the penal code, and we're going to prosecute you for lying about being raped. It's 6 months in jail, a fine, but that has no confidentiality. So you have to be very careful about that, because you make a fake report and that becomes public knowledge that you made a fake report about rape. So then you are that person that then becomes successful 30 years from now. And it's like, you lied about this guy because you were cheating on your boyfriend, and then that can become a whole character issue. There is no confidentiality with that 148.5. So
there's also implications because you were horrible enough to destroy somebody's life. Like, I'm putting this person in prison.
Yeah, but that was what was so genius about that detective. She was just the gold standard. And so she called this girl in and said, we're going to go forward with this case. Let me just get your story again. You're sleeping. He comes in. He assaults you. You were trying to struggle. You couldn't get out from under him. And your boyfriend saved you, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So this 261 of the penal code comes with this 25 years or whatever it is in prison. And you're ready to testify? Mm-hmm. And you're okay with him doing 25 years? Mm-hmm. Cool. And she made up this document. She was like, okay, I just want you to sign here that says that you are going to prosecute and that you're aware that this comes with a 25-year sentence in prison. Mm-hmm. Signs it. And then it's like, okay, great. So stand up, turn around, put your hands behind your back. Do you have anything on you that's going to cut me or stick me? You are fucking under arrest for 148.5 of the California Penal Code, like falsifying a police report. And but like really deserved. And I did that working major assault crimes too, because I would have these women that were, well, we can talk about the whole immigration element too. California passed this thing. I forget the number offhand, but if you are a victim of crime and you are willing to testify against your suspect, that you could get legal my immigration status in the United States as a victim of a crime. And I can't think of the penal code right now, but there was a whole form to sign up and a U visa, I think it is. And so, so people in certain neighborhoods would be like, hey, I'll make a report against you. You make a report against me. And there was all these like false police reports going on. But additionally, people that are on government money, your check comes at the beginning of the month. And after my boyfriend cashes his check, I'm going to drop a little dime and be like, yeah, he beat me last night. So yeah, come get him. So that the boyfriend goes to jail for several weeks before the charges are dropped, because I got to have him come back for next month so I can get his check next month. And they were falsifying these police reports and sending these guys to jail. Totally false report. And I had this one guy, this girl came in, it didn't make sense. She had this injury, but it wasn't right. And I'm not going to tell you how to falsify a police report, but like shit didn't pass the sniff test. And so she wanted to make a report against her boyfriend. Cool. Come in. Let's talk about it. And he's a felon. Well, so, okay. So then you have the bias of the court system saying, okay, he's a felon. He's a gang member. He has a history of violence with other people, blah, blah, blah. He's beat her before. So yeah, obviously pull that filing sheet. Let's start. Yeah, right here, 273.5. But he may have done a lot of crimes, but he didn't do that one. And so, you know, as a detective, I have to do my due diligence, and I got the guy on the phone. And thankfully, as a felon, you'd think he probably doesn't trust police anymore. But thankfully, he chose to talk to me and voluntarily give what happened and how she does this. She wanted to, I cashed my welfare check and she wanted it. And the easiest way to spend my whole check is to get me to go to the Gray Bar Hotel for a couple of weeks while this court case goes through the system. And so then I go over to the city attorney's office and have them pull that filing sheet for 148.5 and put a warrant out for that girl's arrest. Just because he's a felon, just because he's a gang member, just because he's done some nasty stuff to other people doesn't mean he did that. And my boss didn't really like that very much. She kind of yelled at me and was like, we can't be prosecuting victims here. Like, no, but we can prosecute liars. And I totally, wholeheartedly stand by every one of those prosecutions, because you owe it to all of society. You owe it to her next boyfriend. You owe it to the police that are going to pull her over for a broken taillight. And she's going to be like, I had $1 million in my bra and he stole it. Like, you owe it to the entire world to identify her as a liar.
Yeah. Another big reason is, so I called I can't remember if it was West Bureau or South Bureau. I called and I said, we have a grape. And he goes, does it sound like bull? Does it sound like BS? Because certain people keep lying, it hurts. And this was a real one. This was, she was a 17-year-old basketball player, tall, beautiful young lady, super innocent. Her 15-year-old sister brings these two guys over. One of the guys is 6'4". He's 17. He plays football. Goes in the room with her, does what he does. Sweetest girl you ever met, Molly. How long did it take you guys to become cops? I'm kind of hungry. Can we get to McDonald's? Nights, I was so pissed. So when I called, he's like, does it sound like BS? And one of the things I remember about the story was her sister tells her, the one who got raped, the victim, the sister tells the victim, you messed up my birthday party tomorrow with your shenanigans. And she didn't use those words, but she's like, you messed up my birthday party tomorrow, getting raped. And the dad, he was just all distraught. And the mom, I guess they were stepkids, like a blended family. The mom seemed like she was pissed off that all of this stuff happened. The one sister was pissed off that she wasn't going to get to celebrate her birthday. Dad was destroyed, like my daughter just got raped. And then, of course, the young lady. And the whole point of my story is, please don't lie, because young girls like that, the investigation starts from, you think she's lying?
It is terrible. As a detective, you get so many reports, and I think that's even in patrol. I mean, certainly now I'm at a fire department, and we get far more false alarms for smoke alarms than we get actual fire calls. So you hear the fire alarm come out, and you're like, I think, didn't we just have one on that street? Or, you start to get kind of complacent. And then you hear the battalion chief go at scene. He's like, I got smoke showing. And I was like, oh, shit, like, it's on fire, But we get, you see so much fake stuff. And it's hard to be super open to each one, I guess, and treat each one not like a drill, especially when the majority of them are fake, or there's some other like angle to why these women are making these reports.
Oh, Molly, here's another one. This one is actually short. This girl goes over to a producer's house, 2 a.m, and she actually said, I would have slept with him, but he had made me chicken and rice, and he's kissing me while the chicken and rice is falling out of my mouth. And the detective I spoke to, I said, so what'd you think? He said, that detail is so detailed that I know she's telling the truth. And had this jerk just backed off a little bit, like, can you let her finish her meal first?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. That's super gross.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm going to tell this story, but I was like on a 3rd or 4th date with a guy, and I was finally going to like go over to his house to like watch a movie, and we got a pizza. And for whatever reason at that time, I was like, I'm not eating pork. I think I was having a whole ethical thing because like pigs are smarter than like most of my friends. No offense. And so I was like, oh yeah, just like no, whatever. But you can just get whatever you want on your side. And then on my side, I'd like all the gross things that nobody likes: pineapple, mushrooms, black olives. And okay, so I'm just I'll get sausage on all of it, and then we'll just pick it off of your slices and put it on mine. Like, he's kidding, right? We get this freaking pizza, Randy, and no shit, it's got sausage on my side too. I mean, thankfully, I don't have like an allergy. I'm not kosher. Like, there wasn't really like a whole like, what the hell? I can't eat that at all. But so then he goes to take my pieces before putting them on his expensive paper plates, and he takes his fingers and digs the sausages out of my slices. We haven't kissed yet, and he has just loogied all over my freaking pizza. Consent over. We never kissed. That was enough for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why I told that story. Okay. So stupid. Okay, I do want to talk about trafficking, because you were talking about like family dynamics. Yes. Oh dear is right. Hi, Flabby. Okay, getting the picture. Thank you for sharing. New here. What do you guys do? Oh, hi, Flabby. So we are old cops from LAPD, and tonight we're talking about sex crimes and the Me Too movement, and tips.
Consent.
All that good stuff. Consent, yes, for sure. Also, Pammy said, look up the case of former Buffalo Bills rookie punter Matt Araiza. His career was basically ruined because of false allegations. There has to be consequences for making false allegations. Absolutely. So in the state of California, like I just said, 148.5 is a misdemeanor, whereas 261, what they were alleging, is a felony. So not very equal. If we want to talk about equality, that's not very cool. So I do think intentionally falsifying a report that would send somebody to jail for decades, like, I think your sentence should be decades. That's totally wrong. And the only thing was that she got caught. Thank God she had sent those text messages to that guy. And thank God he was honest with the detective and said, let me tell you my story. Thank God that one felon talked to me. He didn't have to, and I would have filed charges, and everyone would be like, oh, what's the dirtbag up to this week? Filing the charge next. So I don't know. So police can be your friend too. So at least I know that I was very fair with people. Okay, so let's talk about human trafficking.
Okay, so all of the open borders voters and contributors, I get it. You're sympathetic, you're compassionate, you're like, oh yeah, but you guys, I blame you guys for all of this. Like, say you hate Trump, you voted for him with your nonsense. You gave more money to ICE because you guys said come here incorrectly. Because all of this contributes to human trafficking, drug smuggling, gun running. You guys put a lot of money in the cartel's pockets. And the women, there's young women who have to take birth control because they know the coyotes, that's people who smuggle them over here. Mm-hmm. They know they're going to grape them. One girl, her mom told her, you were cursed with beauty. Be safe on the trip. Just go along with whatever they tell you. And what she meant was, when they try and have sex with you, and the girl's 15. So, and it doesn't stop on the trip. Like, once they get here, say you're Asian, you might have to pay off the thousands of dollars to whatever criminal enterprise is involved in yours, maybe Yakuza, Triads, whomever. Say you're Hispanic, you might have to work in a brothel or a massage parlor, like Molly said. You might be on the streets. Then, on top of all of that, they might put you in LA, so now you're fighting with black pimps and gangsters against maybe Salvadorian MS-13. They put their girls out there. They've got the black girls out there, the Venezuelan girls. So, oh my, why'd that guy get murdered in front of my house? You don't know. It was over. I mean, prostitution's already going on, but I hate when I hear this. Well, there's already prostitutes here. There's already murder here. So bring some more?
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents. Well, not my 2 cents. That's the facts on human trafficking.
Yeah, it really is gross, especially we could get straight into the massage parlors. These women are dropped off. Sometimes I talked to a minor child who was picked up from her high school and was told, you're going to make me some money today, dropped her off at the massage parlor. Now, these girls, when they get trafficked, first of all, as far as California law goes, I believe that anyone under the age of 18 is considered trafficking. But women that are prostitutes that are paying pimps, they're being trafficked too. These women don't get to keep any of their money because the pimp will buy you whatever you need. Is he buying you steaks? Maybe, but you might get nuggets and you might get them every 3 days. And, it starts, okay, you have to make $300 today, and then it's $1,500, and then it's $2,500. And you're just like, well, shit, I better do worse stuff for more money because I've got to pay my pimp's tab today. And it starts off very like pimping there's a couple kinds, and I might get into my story when I was undercover with LA as a prostitute. This might be a good time to tell you guys, we are really trying to share our worlds with you. If you might, hit a little like wherever you're at and maybe subscribe to hear more of our stories. Because I could just be talking to Randy while I'm painting my staircase instead of talking to you all tonight. We don't make any money off of this. That's for damn sure. But so most of the pimps will start with the smooth talking and like, you're so beautiful and all this stuff, and to groom. And they intentionally find people that are more vulnerable, that don't have an intact house, or maybe they're neglected or abused at home, or, they're vulnerable in some way. And that's a real easy in. It's just like predatory, but this is their business. And, and it starts off small. and, hey, come on, you can help us out by doing this for us, babe. But I mean, we've seen kids in LA, at least. I think 9 was the youngest that I've seen, and that's fucking vile. But also they'll get them hooked on drugs. And so then like that consent thing kind of goes out the window. I truly don't think that there is any prostitute that actually wants to do it. And when I say prostitute, I don't just mean the 9-year-old girl who gets taken out of school for the day because her daddy, who's real nice to her and tells her that she's pretty and buys her a dress from Kmart. I'm also lumping that in with and if anybody wants to come on the show and talk to me, but I would also say that goes for the OnlyFans chicks that do this stuff. If they could make just as much money as they do on OnlyFans, making folding t-shirts at the Gap, I think, well, although there is an element to that whole, like, I want everyone to adore me kind of thing, but let's give them the ability to sing and put them on stage and tell them they can be a pop star. If they could make the same amount of money and get all that adoration, would they do it? And I think they would. I don't think there are some pretty broken people that are like, I want depraved stuff to happen to my body. And I think we'll get into Andrew Tate in a few minutes. But these women are doing these sex acts because they're totally hooked on drugs and they just need another $10 for the day, or they just need to buy their kids some food tonight. And it's easier to allow terrible things to happen to your body than to go to job interviews and not be able to give your kid childcare because I can go around the corner for 10 minutes. And like, these women are all victims. And I think that law enforcement really does victimize these women all over again through arresting them for that 647B, or at least that's City of Los Angeles, for prostitution. They are victims. Now, sometimes that arrest for that 647B is what law enforcement uses to intervene and try to give them help, just like with the drug activity that was going on when they took all that away. If I can arrest you for being under the influence of methamphetamine, let's say, then there was that whole diversion program. Okay, listen, you don't have to go to jail, but you have to go to rehab. We want you to get clean. You're in a bad way. This isn't where your life should be going. Let us help you. And we use that arrest, prosecution, sentencing, diversion program to try to help people a legal way. And I think through those 647B arrests, you are trying to help these women, but you're kind of not also, because then they get warrants and...
Can I add this about the pimps? So say Molly and I are in a gang and we have people paying protection. They're not paying protection because we're going to go fight for them. We're going to smash up their stuff if they don't pay us. So the thing with the pimps is they're like, pay us protection. But the thing with pimps is all pimps will attack that girl. And then when you're her pimp, Molly's making $1,000 getting her body ruined. And I'm taking that 1,000. And what I do is I buy Molly that drink she's drinking. Oh my God, Randy bought me a $5 drink. Yes, with your $1,000.
Yeah.
Had you not given me the 1,000 because I was asking for $9.90, I was going to beat her up, not in the face because we got to sell her face. And people don't understand how brutal and how much you get into these women's minds and with the drugs and all of that. So.
And it really is a business. Like that whole sweet talking thing, it's no different than being a car salesman to them. Of course, they have to tell you, yeah, this model is totally great. And you can, put your kids in it and take it on dates. And it's versatile. And it's blah, 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 blah. It's no different than them telling these girls, yeah, you can make a lot of money and you look really great. And you don't need a new dress. I love that one on you. Like it's all for the sale. And what they're selling is these girls, and these girls think, oh, he's my daddy or he loves me.
You're my boyfriend.
Yeah. And then they get these tattoos or they get branded, by these pimps, where I saw one girl at Rite Aid once at the ice cream counter, and she had Kevin tattooed across her neck. And that wasn't her name. But they will get the pimp's name, they'll get a symbol, they'll get a dollar sign, and it means that they're owned by this person, this crown, this, insignia, this pimp's name. And they're a product. It's so dark. And, you think like, okay, well, if I get, and like with LAPD, when I was a prostitute, you don't get very much. And I don't even have to do the act. I just have to get somebody to agree to it so I can agree for less. But if you're getting $10 a blowjob and you have to turn in $2,500 a day to your pimp, or he's going to beat your ass, 250 blowjobs, it's not even possible. So then you've got to just like, okay, well, I'll do anything more so that I get more money towards my shit because I don't want to get beat. But they're also just psychologically feel like, oh, yeah, well, that's what it costs to live, I guess, because they don't really have these skills to be able to go get an apartment or, get a normal job. They don't understand money because they've been really isolated and all this stuff.
Well, Molly, here's another one. You and I are both 24. You and I are both prostitutes. We've been doing it for 3 years. Sounds young because we're only 27 now, but we've also been doing drugs and having sex on the streets. Johnny New Pimp brings his little 18-year-olds and they're getting all the action. Mm-hmm. And our pimp is like, Randy and Molly, what's going on? Why are you? And we're just getting beat. And it's just, everything is just cyclical. Like you pick up charges, you've got a drug addiction. This dude's beating you and he's going through whatever he's going through too. Because he's getting in trouble also. So he's getting more and more insane. So.
Yeah, it's so dark, and having been on the street, posing as it, I can tell you that I have arrested Johns that we get to file additional charges on because they're soliciting prostitution while knowingly having AIDS. And if you think about that, like, these women are opening themselves up to all this terrible stuff and, whatever. So women get paid extra for the girlfriend experience, which is no condom. So let's say that John is earlier in the day before my other 250 blowjobs and customers that I have to, service or find on the street. Like, for the second, third, and 89th customer, like, you're just sloshing around in a vat of other people's shit because he paid $10 extra for the girlfriend experience, like, how many other people paid that? And
Molly, they're on the street. They're not going into their hotel room and washing up. So it's me and you in the car. All right, take care. And then Mr. Next Guy.
Yeah, it's really freaking dark. And so I guess I'll tell my prostitution story now just because we're talking about it. So I get out of the car and, like, we were given specific instructions. I might not tell the whole story. But I got my arrest and that was wild. And then my partner from LAPD, Taj, she gets out of the car. Now, this girl is a supermodel, just like tall, thin, gorgeous. And she's like, I hate doing these stings because I always get gorilla pimped. And I'm like, what's that? Because I just went on the corner and bounced my boobs at the bus stop and licked my lollipop and I got a violation and I put out the signal and I got an arrest. Okay, now it's your turn. And I'm like, well, what's gorilla pimped? And she's like, I hope I don't get gorilla pimped. She is not on the corner before some like 5'4" little hobbit comes flying out of the motel in her crotch face, screaming at her, saying, this is big pimpin'. These are my streets. Where are your papers? In other words, you have to pay me to sell your ass in front of this motel that I don't even own. I'm just staying at this motel, but you have to pay me to stand here to sell your ass. I need a piece of it. And she's like, I don't want anything to do with you. Leave me alone. And he's like, you ain't going nowhere, bitch. And so he's like screaming at her. She had guys pulling up, going, get in the car, bitch. And like, what the hell? Like, I didn't get any of that. I had a lot of people like driving by really slow and staring at me. I had some people like kind of walk by me a couple of times on the sidewalk. I got my violation. I didn't have any experience like Taj did. And I don't know if it was just because like she's so beautiful or I don't know, but holy hell, she went through it. And so we ended up being able to get the guy for another thing because he wasn't trying to solicit her. He was just trying to make money from her. And they want you to get in the car and they show you like fat rolls of money and like, get in the car, bitch. And it's just like, dude, these guys, these pimps are just like so aggressive to her right off the bat. And of course, you're not going to get in the fucking car because that's where we get murdered. But it was just so awful. But it's so weird as a girl to be doing that because everything that you're told in this world, like, don't talk to strange men, cross the street when that hairs go up on the back of your neck. That guy's looking at me, cross the street, get away from that guy. That guy doesn't mean me any fucking good. Like, all of that goes out the window because those are your clients. So those are the kind of guys that you're going to let pull up and go, what's up, bitch? Let me see those tits. And you're just like, hi. And of course, you're not going to show them your tits, but like you're going to engage them in a conversation to get a violation out of them.
Here's a secret, Molly.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of prostitutes don't date black guys. And I mean in prostitution. Because they're like, you guys are normally pimps, or you rob us, or you do some other crazy stuff. So we don't date you guys. And a lot of people don't know about that. And I'm like, interesting. Very interesting.
I don't know that I would date a prostitute anyway.
No.
So you might be...
No, I mean, you know what I mean, date. Like,
date. Okay, yeah.
So then,
yeah.
Yeah, because on patrol, we can't do what you guys were doing. But I would talk to them and I'm like, so you don't like black guys? Oh, no, my pimp's black. I'm like, this kind of makes no sense to me. No, it makes absolute sense. Normally, you guys would be trying to solicit us or guerrilla pimping, like what you said. So,
yeah, I mean, they other guys will try to take you away from your pimp,
right.
And
steal you. Yeah.
Very. I think this would be a good point in plugging RAINN, RAINN, the Rape and Incest Network or something. It's confidential and there's people who will answer the phone. They got a whole website. I think they're like the biggest one. And if you've gone through anything, even if you're a sex worker, even if it happened a long time ago, it's a really great resource to start that conversation about what happened. And if you don't want to call the police, that's a really good resource to be able to call people and talk to somebody on the phone that's aware of, everything. So Christopher Leland's in the YouTube chat and says, should prostitution be legal? I'm going to say no. What do you think, Randy?
The reason why you can't legalize it, it's, so I'm using the wrong words. It's collateral to so many other crimes. Drugs, violence, murder, gangbanging. So prostitution in and of itself, I'm selling sex to a person. I don't know where I fall on that. Morally, no. Ethically, no. Societally, I don't know. But prostitution, no, hell no. Because if you came to LA and you saw prostitution, you'd be like, no, you can't legalize this. You got people standing in front of your house in tiny bikinis, and you're bringing your kids out.
Yeah.
And there's condom wrappers everywhere, and look in that car. Those two people are having sex. So if you're saying zones, maybe still no, because the women in it really get abused. And then
Yeah, they're not
it's just too
willingly
much.
doing it. These women
Yeah.
don't want to be prostitutes. So you're really only legalizing pimping.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of that idea. As well as a few minutes ago, I was talking about how we can use that arrest to do a diversionary program to now I legally can take custody of you on the freaking street. Whereas if you pull up to a prostitute, even though, or a little girl who's being trafficked, and you're like, hey, do you want to get in the car and tell me about your pimp so I can prosecute him? Hell no. Keep going, cop. I ain't talking to you. But if I can get that violation so that I can legally arrest him for that 647B, now we can start a conversation through the arrest process, because really we are trying to get to the bigger fish. We understand that these women are victims of this. And for the massage parlors, when I was working undercover Vice, I created the first database for LAPD of the 647B massage brothel victims, employees that are doing stuff at these massage parlors, because they would just move them around. So you know that this girl is getting, giving happy endings, whatever, so that she can make more money, because a regular massage is like $30. But if I do this, that, and the other, I can make 150, and that'll make my pimp really happy, and he won't beat me tonight. Or like with the case of immigration, is like these women are like in this servitude because they're told, we'll bring you over for the secretarial job, and then you'll just pay us back through working. We've got this great job for you. Okay, yeah, the secretary job's not ready. So if you could just go work in the massage parlor today and work off the amount of money that it costs for us to bring you over here. And this money never ends, because then they're saying, well, you had oatmeal for breakfast and that's $400, and the lights are on and that's $800. And like, it looks like you owe me a lot of money. And so these women never get out from under it. Like, they are victims. But through a database and finding out who they are working for and getting them to trust you, which is really hard because they've been so psychologically trained to think that they can't make it in the outside world, or they're going to be injured, or their kids' lives are in jeopardy. Because of who the structure that they're working for. It's really, really terrible. And we've gotten minors, and unfortunately it's most of the massage parlors. I mean, even the really she ones, I won't say names, but in Los Angeles and Beverly Hills, get caught for these prostitution for soliciting. Because we've worked the seedy ones and we've worked the nice ones.
He wasn't even law enforcement. He went down to San Diego, got a massage, and he developed whatever with the young lady. And she was like, and he figured out, oh, she's been kidnapped. And it was a huge, huge thing. And when you think kidnap, like, oh, why don't you run out the front door? She's like, no, this is a whole network. It was Vietnamese. The owner was in on it. The whatever gang was in on. Even the other ladies were like, "No, you're going to pay back that $200 a day until you pay off this $200,000." That is a lot of hand jobs.
Yeah, and it never ends because you're accruing debt to them while you're trying to work off the debt, and it's never going to be enough. So I guess maybe I'll give a couple of tips on like what a seedy massage place looks like. And I think one of the most obvious things is like all the windows in the front are covered with posters or curtains. Like, you can't see into the business.
Allegedly.
Or the door is locked and they have to like let you in, and they'll tell you like, oh, that's because we only have one girl working today. It's to keep the cops out. Like, that's all that is. Like, if your massage place is being run like a pawn shop that they have to buzz you in, like, run. Because again, they don't really have like showers, and you're swimming in a vat of other people's goo. If you see saran wrap, run. because these women are so used to being caught and condoms and fruit of the crime being taken into custody, instead of putting a condom over these guys as they do stuff to them, they'll just use a piece of plastic wrap, like regular, like kitchen plastic wrap, put it over it, because somehow they think that means that they're not, like, a legitimate massage doesn't include plastic wrap. So run. If they're wearing like high heels or they've got like a bra exposed in Los Angeles, and obviously I'm just speaking for Los Angeles, but they have to wear like white lab coats and have it like a nameplate, and like it has to be like professional. There's a whole licensing thing that has to happen. And so like we have this one open in West LA, and there were just like straight up chicks in lingerie and like 6-inch platform stilettos, like hanging out front and going like, come on in, you want a massage? And you're just like, what in the fuck just moved into this neighborhood? All right. So then they call us, the Vice unit, to like go and bust these guys. And that's wild because you have to get specialized permission to be able to completely disrobe to be undercover, because you'll go in as an operative and, you have to disrobe to get a massage, and then like, okay, flip over. Okay. And then like they'll wait for you to get like a lot of the massage before they will solicit you and say, for this much more, I'll do this much. And so you actually like there's paperwork involved if male cops have to get fully naked to be able to bust these women. And like it was so funny because these guys that were doing the operation, they're like, I know, I feel really bad, but the massage was really good until I arrested her for being disgusting. If they have like male only clients, it's a super red flag. Yeah, I mean, and like open late, like you're open till 10 p.m. I'm already suspicious. So
this is a little off subject, but it's kind of a weird story. We saw like 4 transsexual, I don't even know what you call them, transgendered individuals chasing a 4-year-old. And we're in a police car and we're like, what is going on right now? So we went over. They were chasing the 4-year-old because he was in the car by himself. His dad, who was Border Patrol, God bless Border Patrol, but whose Border Patrol was inside a sex place doing his thing. And me and my partner just gave him the worst ass chum. We're like, you left your 4-year-old, and it's late at night, it's like 11. And then come to find out he lied to his wife. You're out doing this stuff. And it's like,
yeah,
you have these transgender prostitutes chasing your kid. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I know
one of the arrests I did for one of the guys who solicited me, he was driving his wife's minivan with baby seats in the back. And like, we want to get numbers. So we just want to get back out on the street and like get another arrest and get recap. Right. And I'm like, Sarge, we're impounding this car. And he's like, it's going to take a while for the tow to come. I don't care. We're impounding this car. I'll write the report. This might be the impound report that the wife has to go get her car from the impound. And it's going to say the 226510, I think, which is driver arrested. Might be the only time that she finds out that her husband was on La Cienega soliciting some cop to have sex. And like, we owe it to that wife. It makes me pissed. So Flabby is on Instagram or on YouTube and says it's weird how guys think the women like it. Yeah, it is. It really is.
In interviewing them, they've always said, we don't like this. And I'm like, not at all? No, I'm thinking about getting my nails done. How does my hair look? Why does this guy's breath smell this bad? I'm like, you've never been with, the guy I liked solicited me. I stopped liking him when he did that. And that was one time. I'm like,
yeah. Fair point. Flabby feels alone in the chat on YouTube. There are other people watching on YouTube. I don't have a number right this second, but I'm also on Rumble under MollySleuth, and the chat there has some depraved sex emojis. We've got some knob polishing and a butthole and some licking and a stripper dancing and ooh, that one's good. And I don't even know what's going on there. There you go, guys. I change those emojis up every week, and we so then it pops up on the StreamYard, like hashtag, and I get to see hashtag knob polishing, hashtag butthole, hashtag tasty, hashtag sucking, hashtag licking. That's good. Oh dear God. Yes, exactly. So
Molly,
we don't have a lot of time left, but one thing I wanted to talk about was like the whole kind of Andrew Tate thing sort of brought this up, and I found this meme, and it's talking about this whole, yeah, go ahead.
it's crazy that you just brought him up. I was just going to tell you, there's also digital prostituting, but you kind of went there already. So
yeah, I mean, I think although you might not get an STD through it, it still sort of sells your soul, and I think that people have a lot of regrets later on, and I think it changes you, because not only do men look at you like less worthy, but I think that you kind of look at yourself like less worthy. I mean, as a cop doing it undercover, like we used to make a game out of it and be like, let's see who could get solicited for the least amount of money. And Lynette won. I think she got 2 tacos. Like, okay, will you do this to me for, okay, but how much? Like, okay, 2 tacos. Like, okay. So she gives the signal and they arrest, and like, we're like, fuck, we can't beat that. But imagine that being you on the street, and like you're gonna sell your soul and do something to some like grunting, sweating, disgusting piece of shit for 2 fucking tacos. Like, it burns my soul. So when you talk about legalizing it, I don't know how you could legalize victimizing people like that and giving somebody a legal avenue to sell themselves. No woman wants that. And it's I just think societally, plus, like you're saying, you know, you're screwing up the neighborhood. It's ruining young girls, because, you know, as a 17-year-old girl, you could make a lot more money selling pictures of your a-hole on the internet, let's say 18, than you can like learning a trade and getting a real job. So, but then like, where are they later in life? Like these women, these stories are awful, and you can't listen to these stories without your heart breaking for them. Okay. Speaking of modern love, so here's the meme that I found. And it's how close domestic violence and how rough she likes it. And this is like, I have a lot of guy friends, and some of you guys tell me, not you, Randy, because I know that you're like super traditional, but some of you guys tell me that these girls like want to be smacked around and like stuff. And so it's kind of like the whole Andrew Tate thing, where he finds these girls that want violent things done to them. And like, at what point do you determine that that becomes a crime? Like, can you consent to being physically injured?
I always look at it like, I don't see the fun in punching the person I'm with. Or I had a girl tell another girl, oh, you know, Randy likes it rough, right? And I'm like, no, don't listen to what she's saying. Listen to what I'm telling you. And she's like, oh, so you like it rough? I'm like,
yeah.
So once the person tells you whatever it is, listen to the person.
Yeah. And I mean, I've had, why am I going to tell this story? I'm just
Because you have to.
I was dating a loser. It was very early, and we were at the grocery store, and there were people in front of us and people behind us in line, and he grabbed my butt so hard, like really hard. And one, I was shocked because we weren't like there yet, and 2, like, dude, you just treated me like a piece of meat, and like 3, like, ew, people are around, and this was so like, you're my like piece of ass. It was so gross on so many levels. Plus it hurt. And like, I wasn't into that. There was no consensual, like, why don't you humiliate me and physically hurt me in front of the public? And I was so freaking shocked. And I turned around and I grabbed his front, not as hard. And I was like, oh, it's so tiny. It's so tiny. I love it. I love it. and like embarrassed him in front of everybody at the store. The dude behind us is laughing like an asshole, and I'm just like putting my stuff on the conveyor belt. And we left the store, and I was like, don't ever touch me like that again. And we dated about 4 more minutes, and he cheated on me with a one-eyed stripper on the internet. We did a whole thing about it on Valentine's Day. Anyway, so it's wild to me because, you know, you talk about consent and it's like, okay, well, she wants to get smacked, but it's consensual. Like, okay, not a crime. Like, oh, she wants me to draw blood. Okay, that gets a little murkier. Okay, I choked her out, but that's what she wanted, but she didn't live. Is that homicide? Right? I mean, God, you remember being in LAPD Academy when we were learning the snake and rake and we were choking each other out, and like, it is considered deadly force. People die even doing it as a joke. So I would never jokingly try to choke somebody out like that. And if I was with somebody who wanted that in bed, I would just be like, I don't need that kind of.
Here's my thing, Molly. I don't judge. You guys want to hit each other in the face with rakes? Have fun. My thing is, I'm not explaining to the sheriffs why she's dead with my fingerprints around her neck. Oh, we were just having sex. Like murdering each other?
Yeah.
So I'm good. I'm a solid.
And I really think it also opens up those police reports. Rod's in the chat on Rumble says she likes it rough until you went a little too rough. Now she's filing a police report. Or she's totally on board with what you're doing, but then she asks to borrow $100 and you don't have it, and now she makes a police report. Sex is a very vulnerable position to be in with another human being. And I think that we really have to get back to that, where we understand that you don't just have sex with anyone, because they could be lying to you about being a billionaire. They could be lying to you about not having AIDS. You know, there's just so much. You really need to trust that person implicitly before your bodies are put together in a way that can never be undone. I mean, I sound like, you know, a total nun or something here, but like, understand, I'm watching this younger generation. I mean, I'm 50 years old. I am watching this younger generation sell themselves for nothing because they want to be loved or they want to be famous on TikTok. And it is ruining women's lib, is ruining it for both of us.
So Molly, you're not sounding like a nun, because you know I collect action figures. So I had a girl over. She got pissed and she starts breaking my action figures. What's my recourse? Nothing. I don't want to touch her. I just want her out of my house. And she's destroying something I love in my house. That's one story. Another girl, she's backing out of my house. She crashes into the gate, doesn't say anything, and just leaves. For men and women, we have to be a lot more safe with sex. And I mean, these are small things. The thing she broke cost maybe nothing. I think I crazy glued it. But what if she was breaking my flat screen TV, or what if that girl hit me with the car instead of the gate? So just be a lot more careful.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad because I've been kicked off of every dating app, and like, I'll meet people in real life and they'll be like, oh, Marie. And I'll be like, that's my name on dating apps. I would never tell strangers my real name. Like, I might give you my phone number like after we get married, but otherwise, like, no, that's not. You do have to be really careful. And I just think we need to go back to valuing each other in a way that isn't so automatic, like trusting people so automatically.
Oh, Molly, this one isn't it's not even a great story. It's just a normal story. This girl has her phone. She didn't tell anyone where she was going. Phone dies, and she gets to the apartment with the guy, and he's got 4 roommates. Nothing happened. But when she told the story, like, all the hairs on my arm, I'm like, what'd you do? She's like, my phone died, and I'm in this. I'm like, why don't you just keep going with it? And she's like, the way the human brain works. I'm like, no. You could have told him
Well,
to take
I
you
think that
home.
goes back to be rude. Like, don't feel like you have to drink that drink or go in because you said that you would come over. But it's like that consent changed the moment I found out that this is a house full of 5 dudes and like it's just me and I don't know you enough to know that you would kill all of them to protect me. In fact, yesterday, 2 days ago, I bought this house, whole thing. I've been taking down some like big vertical blinds. They're fuck ugly, but they are in good condition. And so I put stuff online to be able to give them to somebody because it's better than putting them in the landfill. And then, great, I'll be right over. And so I gave her the neighbor's address. So then I like, you have to let me know when you're coming because I can't hear the doorbell. And I give the neighbor's address because then once you verify that it's some little old lady and like there were creepy guys that wanted to buy my stuff and they could only be over at 11 o'clock at night. And it's like, sir, it's free for me to light this on fire in the middle of the street. You're not coming over. But so you give them the neighbor's address so that you can like come over and be like, oh shoot, I'm sorry. I gave you the wrong address. I'm right here. Here's the mini blinds, whatever. I don't think that you guys understand the lengths that we go to protect ourselves from danger. And I think part of that whole prostitution thing is like, you have to let go of every one of those instincts that's in your head because you don't want your pimp to hit you, or you want some guy to like you or whatever. And so like, well, normally I wouldn't go over on the first date and normally I wouldn't do this. And it's like, we need to, if I could impart anything on women, and feminists and women's lib, just like be strong and know that like you're so good. Some guy should chase you and some guy should treat you like that trophy that he talks about for the rest of his life, the way my dad talks about my mom. And I don't know, it's just feel like we're really devolving.
Well, if you're the village vagina, men are like, okay, I'm just gonna wait for my turn. Next, if you're the girl who no one's been with, we will fight each other with axes to get at you. And I think women's lib doesn't realize, let him earn you.
Yeah, I think they're deluding themselves to think that when they show their tits and all that stuff, that that fleeting adoration means that they're special. You're not. Like, you get on those apps and you see like what I saw when I looked at the kind of girls that were on the apps for you was just like, holy shit. And then like, guys, it's that sensation seeking. And we could talk about psychology and we're going to wrap it up here. But so I'm going to talk about psychology next week. So I have a homework assignment for you guys if you will be a part of this experiment. But the psychology of people who are sensation seekers. So this is just a side tip for you. Those people who have to try the hottest hot sauce and always go to the opening movie and like, I need to like go to every continent. Sensation seekers that are constantly swiping, that want to push boundaries and try everything new and different and bigger and better. They're the riskiest people in this world to date because loyalty isn't really a thing with them.
I just want to say something to the chat and everyone listening real quick. There's no judgment on me and Molly's part. The only thing that we don't want is any of you guys get hurt. Other than that, live your best life. Yeah. Just don't get harmed in any kind of way. That's our biggest. So if it seemed like, oh, these guys seem like a couple of preachers.
Yeah.
We've lived everything we're saying.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've helped people out of really bad spots. And so I'll give my email address. I'm MollySleuth @Gmail. If you want to talk about prosecution, if you want to talk about your specific incident, if there's something that I could maybe help you with or demystify the whole police process. I might not know how it works for your city, though. And I've worked for a couple of agencies. LAPD, there are bad apples that I wouldn't invite to my funeral. But as an agency, I trust them implicitly. I worked for another agency that they were all motherfuckers and the whole place was corrupt. Actually, there were some good officers there, but as an agency, that place was fucked up. And if you had a crime happen to you in that city, I might give you different advice than if you lived in the city of Los Angeles. Okay, so speaking of psychology, first of all, Randy, thank you so much for coming in. I know you've been on a whirlwind, like you've been all over the place, jet setting and stuff. And so it's always exciting when I can get you here. First, you're my best friend for a long time, and it's fun to just hang out with you anyway. But also to talk shop is always a good time. So love
Thanks for having me.
So next week, I'm going to give you very truncated instructions, and I'll explain it next week. I just want you to draw me a tree. Probably not on the internet. Get out a crayon, get out a calligraphy pen, get out your pencil, and put it on something physical, take a picture of it, and send it to me at MollySleuth@gmail.com. And we're going to go over people's trees next week. There's a whole madness behind it. It's going to be kind of fun. I realize it's the 4th of July. I'm a loser. You can catch it later if you can't catch it live. So draw me a tree. That is your homework. Thanks, Ben. He put MollySleuth@gmail in the Rumble chat. And to everybody on Rumble and everybody on YouTube, love you guys. I'm working on a tree. Thank you. I got some emails today. Was so exciting. And because people don't really know why they're drawing me a tree, like I've gotten some really freaking interesting trees. Randy, will you draw me a tree and send it to me? And if you want credit for your tree for whatever reason, let me know in the email and I will plug your handle, your business, whatever. But really, I just want to see people's trees. Thanks, Ben. He said, good show. All right, Randy, love you, dude. And
love you. Thank you, chat.
Let me get us off YouTube because we're going to play a song and you know how YouTube feels about that. Remove YouTube.